Something felt off the moment it happened, like the race didn't just crash, it snapped. Bubba Wallace was out front, everything looked under control, and then, in a blink, it all collapsed into one of the ugliest pileups you'll see all season. Smoke everywhere, cars destroyed, absolute chaos. This wasn't just the big one, it felt bigger than that. 26 cars wiped out, half the field gone. And just like that, the entire race changed direction. But that's not even the craziest part, because what came after the wreck somehow made everything louder. The reactions, the arguments, the way it was shown on TV. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a crash anymore. It turned into something way messier. So yeah, we need to actually break this down, because the deeper you go into this, the more uncomfortable it gets. Before everything exploded, the race wasn't even chaotic. That's what makes this feel strange. Talladega actually started calm, controlled. NASCAR stretched stage 1 to 98 laps, trying to kill the fuel-saving games, but drivers still played it safe. Strategy, patience. Nobody wanted to be the one to mess it up early. And Bubba? He was right there, not dominating, but lurking, waiting. Then stage 2 hit, and this is where things take a turn. The entire vibe flipped. No more saving, no more patience. The pack tightened, the pushes got aggressive. And drivers have been warning about this exact moment, when things go from controlled to completely unstable, almost instantly. At nearly 200 miles per hour, inches apart, that's a dangerous switch to flip. And then, lap 115. Everything goes wrong. The official story sounds simple, too simple. Bubba Wallace, leading, gets a hard push from Chastain down the backstretch. That shove sends the 23 sideways. Suddenly, there's nowhere to go. Cars stack up. The middle of the pack collapses into itself. Turn 3 becomes a wall of smoke and metal. That's the clean version. But here's where it gets messy, because depending on who you ask, that replay tells two completely different stories. One side says Chastain flat out shoved Bubba into disaster. No question. The other side? They're saying Bubba moved too late, blocked too aggressively, put himself in a position where one push would end everything. Same replay, two completely opposite conclusions. And that's why this didn't just fade away like a normal Talladega wreck. This one needed a villain, and Bubba ended up right in the center of it. Look at the damage. Blaney, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, all caught, all done or ruined. 26 cars total. That's not just a wreck. That's a reset button on the entire race. And even when the race restarted, it didn't feel right anymore. The energy was gone. The trust was gone. Yeah, Carson Hocevar pulled off a massive win in a 3-lap shootout. Huge moment for him. But if we're being real, nobody was talking about that first. They were talking about Bubba. And then, social media exploded. You could feel it instantly. Blame everywhere. Some fans didn't hold back at all, saying Bubba wrecked the whole field. Others went even harder, questioning his reaction, his attitude, even whether he should still be at this level. But not everyone agreed, and that's where things get even more divided. Because others looked at the same crash and said, "How is this on Bubba? He got hit, hard, from behind. What's he supposed to do there?" And suddenly, it turns into a full split. Two sides, no middle ground. And that's not even where it ends. Because now, the broadcast gets pulled into it. Fans were already frustrated. Too many commercials, broken flow, the race felt chopped up. So when the post-race interview clips started circulating, people were already on edge. And then something weird happened. Parts of Bubba's interview weren't there. The opening exchange, the tone, gone, cut out. Now suddenly, people aren't just arguing about the crash. They're asking, did Fox try to clean this up? Did they remove the most uncomfortable part on purpose? Maybe it was routine editing, maybe not. But to viewers, it didn't look good. And when trust starts slipping, everything feels more suspicious. Now here's where it really takes a turn. Bubba's own reaction. Because it wasn't one clear message. On the radio, right after the crash, it sounded like blame. They wrecked us. That's what people heard first. That sticks. But then, in the TV interview, the tone shifts. Completely different energy. Taking some responsibility. Talking about the car, the push, what needs to be better. And that difference, that gap, that's what fans locked onto. Because now it feels like two versions of the same moment. One raw, one controlled. And people started asking, which one is real? Some fans didn't buy it at all. They heard we need to be pushed better and thought, that sounds soft. That sounds like avoiding the real issue. Others felt like he was spreading the blame, instead of owning the move completely. And once that idea gets in people's heads, it doesn't go away. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. What the other drivers said, because their perspective doesn't match the outrage. Ryan Blaney basically shrugged off the blame game, said it's just what happens, everyone bumping, everyone pushing. Eventually, someone gets turned. Joey Logano went even further, saying the cars themselves are the problem, unstable, built in a way where this kind of crash feels inevitable. Think about that. Drivers inside the cars are pointing at the system, not just one driver. Even Kyle Larson hinted at the same thing. The race swings from slow strategy to full chaos, with no middle ground. And when that switch flips, there's no control left. So now you're left with this. Was Bubba Wallace at the center of it? Yeah. Was he the visible trigger? Absolutely. But is that the whole story? Not even close. Because behind that one moment, you've got a shove, an unstable car, a packed field running inches apart, and a superspeedway package that drivers themselves are calling a ticking time bomb. That doesn't excuse everything. Bubba was leading. He was making the calls up front. Even he admitted they need to be better in those situations. But this wasn't some simple mistake where one driver just wiped everyone out. It's bigger than that. And that's the uncomfortable part. The internet wants someone to blame. Always has. But the garage? They're seeing something deeper. Something broken in the way these races unfold. And after this wreck, both sides just got louder. So now I'm curious. When you look at that replay, what do you actually see? A driver causing chaos? Or a system finally breaking?